100 facts about world history to fall asleep to. Close your eyes and let yourself drift back through the vast river of time. We're going to take a gentle journey together through the story of humanity, beginning at the very dawn of civilization itself. Around 12,000 years ago, as the last ice age slowly released its grip on the earth, something remarkable happened in a fertile crescent of land between two great rivers in what we now call the Middle East. The people there made a discovery that would change everything. They learned that wild grasses could be cultivated, that seeds could be planted and harvested with intention. This was the beginning of agriculture, and it happened around 10,000 BCE in Mesopotamia, in the lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. For thousands of years before this moment, humans had wandered as hunters and gatherers, following the seasons and the herds. But now, for the first time, people could stay in one place. They built permanent homes. They stored grain for the winter. And as these settlements grew larger, something extraordinary emerged. Around 3500 BCE, in the ancient land of Sumer, nestled in southern Mesopotamia, the world's first cities began to rise from the river plains. Places like Uruk and Uar became home to thousands of people. Imagine the wonder of it. The first time in human history that strangers lived side by side in such numbers, creating the earliest urban civilizations. These weren't just villages that had grown large. They were something entirely new, with temples reaching toward the sky and marketplaces buzzing with trade. But as these cities grew, a problem emerged. How do you keep track of grain stores? How do you record debts and treaties? How do you send messages across distances? The Sumerians found an answer. Around 3200 BCE, they pressed reed styluses into soft clay tablets, creating wedge-shaped marks that we now call cuneiform. This was one of humanity's first writing systems, and it transformed civilization forever. No longer did knowledge have to pass only from one person's memory to another's. Now it could be preserved, studied, and shared across generations. As you breathe slowly and deeply, picture those ancient scribes in their temples, carefully pressing symbols into clay that would last for thousands of years. Some of those tablets still exist today, telling us stories about their laws, their gods, and their daily lives. While Mesopotamia flourished between its rivers, another great civilization was taking shape along a different waterway. The Nile River, flowing through the desert of northeastern Africa, became the lifeline of ancient Egypt. Around 3100 BCE, a ruler named Narmer, sometimes called Menes, unified the lands of Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. This marked the beginning of Egypt's dynastic period, an era that would last for 3,000 years. The ancient Egyptians became masters of their environment. They learned to predict the Nile's annual flooding, which brought rich, dark soil to the riverbanks each year. They built magnificent temples and monuments that still stand today, and they developed their own system of writing, one of the most beautiful ever created. Hieroglyphics combined pictures, symbols, and sounds, carved into stone and painted on papyrus scrolls. These elegant symbols adorned tomb walls and temple columns, telling the stories of pharaohs and gods. Let your mind wander now to the banks of the Nile, where the morning sun rises over golden sands and palm trees sway in the breeze. The pyramids haven't been built yet in our story, but they're coming soon. For now, just rest in this moment, when writing was still young and civilizations were learning to read the patterns of rivers and stars. Around 2560 BCE, during what historians call the Old Kingdom period, the Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed for the pharaoh Khufu. This wasn't just a tomb. It was a statement of ambition, precision, and the power of organized human effort. The pyramid took an estimated 20 years to build and required about 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons on average. Workers quarried these massive stones, transported them across the desert, and fitted them together with such accuracy that even today, you cannot slip a piece of paper between many of the blocks. Think about that for a moment as you settle deeper into comfort. Without modern machinery, without wheels or pulleys as we know them, ancient engineers created a structure so perfect that it remained the tallest human-made building in the world for over 3,800 years. The Great Pyramid still stands today, a testament to what humans can achieve when they work together toward a common vision. As the centuries passed and dynasties rose and fell, trade routes began to connect these early civilizations. Ideas, goods, and knowledge flowed between Mesopotamia and Egypt, between the Indus Valley and the Mediterranean coast. Humanity was beginning to weave itself into a broader story, one that would eventually span the entire globe. As you breathe slowly and peacefully, let's drift eastward now, across mountains and deserts, to another river valley where a remarkable civilization was quietly flourishing. The Indus River Valley, in what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, became home to one of the most sophisticated ancient cultures the world has ever known. Around 2500 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization reached its peak, with cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro housing tens of thousands of people. What made these cities extraordinary wasn't just their size, but their planning. Imagine streets laid out in perfect grids, like a checkerboard stretching into the distance. These ancient urban planners created something that wouldn't become common in the Western world for thousands of years. The streets ran straight and true, intersecting at right angles, with main boulevards wide enough for carts and processions. But even more remarkable was what lay beneath those streets. The Indus Valley people built the world's first known urban sanitation systems. Clay pipes ran under the streets, carrying waste away from homes. Houses had private bathrooms and toilets that connected to covered drainage systems. Fresh water flowed through separate channels. This level of civic planning and concern for public health wouldn't be matched in many parts of the world until the modern era. Thousands of years later, let yourself imagine the peaceful routine of life in these ancient cities. The comfort of clean water flowing through your home. The security of well-organized streets where you always knew your way. Rest in that sense of order and care. Sleep now, deeply and peacefully, cradled by all of human history, connected to all who came before and all who will come after.